Tuesday, Cody and Gold, Alex Gold, Cody Tapter, Nixon with you. Back in studio. Hope everybody had a fantastic weekend. Thanks again to Dusty filling in for us yesterday. Very important team building day yesterday. Very, very important for us before the football season. Drew got his first KC barbecue fix. We'll get your official review, by the way, that's expected. Be very careful. Coming up in about a half hour or so.
Actually, I'm just going to warn you now. The sentence you said, it reminded you, don't say that.
Yeah.
That's just not going to help you. If you say, and look, this is before Drew had tried the food.
It was just visual.
It was just aesthetic.
Yes. Yes.
But Drew may or may not, I'm just going to out him. He may or may not, as we sat down at Joe's barbecue, waiting for our plates, before having a bite of his food, he said, inside this place kind of reminds me of Dickies.
The aesthetic.
I cringed when you said it, man. Cody and I looked up. We let you off we almost just right there, just lectured you, I feel like. But we didn't, because I think we're basing it off of the vibe indoors with the aesthetics. But yeah, don't use that comparison.
Yeah,
No.
going up and standing in line and then ordering your food. Yeah, the aesthetic. Yes.
The aesthetic, not the taste. The aesthetic.
But yeah, I got goosebumps all over in a negative way. Start breaking out in hives, actually, when you can compare it to
the only thing you could say that would offend Kansas City barbecue more is if you're like, my favorite sauce is Sweet Baby Ray's. It's like the only thing you could say that would be on par with that level of decision.
So we'll get the official review, but yeah, there's your warning. Way to just completely throw one under the bus right at the top.
Yeah, thanks a lot. The text chat's going to be crazy.
He said it before he had the food. He was just talking aesthetics. We can let him off.
913-586-7610. Jay Southland Tow Service text line. But we did. We had a little team building, fun time yesterday. We also checked out a local brewery. Good stuff. We're ready for football season, though, man. Definitely ready. But is Chris Jones ready for football season? Because today was like the last day. We've gotten through for the last month. We've put out different deadlines. Last week, you asked me one final time, what's the day? It was Thursday for you last week. I said today, as in Tuesday, is the last day where if he does not show up, I don't believe he plays week 1. So he's got till really 3 o'clock today.
Based on some math, he has till 3.
3 days. 3 o'clock, I should say. I'm sorry. To figure this out. 3 o'clock is it. And then after that, I don't think he's playing week 1 of this season. I said it last week, and I'll stick with that. Where are you at now? Because there's no reason to believe that anything's happening.
Why the hell do I think he's showing up now?
Well,
he hasn't shown up to this point. There is one interesting thing. I'll give Matt Lane credit over at KC Sports Network. He had said in the CBA, there's a rule that sets a deadline for 5 days before the preseason. This isn't an Albert Breer article, so he's the one who found it. He just said, for a player to report, if a team doesn't, they can roster exemption, withhold game checks, even after they report, and they get to essentially stash a roster spot. So if Chris Jones doesn't show up before now, but still eventually shows up, they can now roster him without paying him for at least a temporary, right? They can hold on to it for a bit. And they would get multiple weeks of the extra roster spot while he has to get ready. So the Chiefs have a benefit in him not showing up today, which feels like another deadline that is now passed. And look, they're all different levels of deadline. Not showing up today would indicate to me your willingness to miss actual time this year. Like, I know tomorrow at 10 a.m. we'll be talking about this again because either he will or would not have shown up by 3 o'clock. But if he doesn't show up today, it is proving a willingness to the Chiefs that you are willing to miss actual football games. That's a big deal.
Yeah, that was laid out by Albert Breer. I thought it was pretty good detail from SI. The implications of sitting out, we've gone over time and time again, and I haven't heard one person tell me the real benefit to Chris Jones missing games. I mean, I have yet to hear one answer that actually makes sense. It does not make sense. I'll maintain that. For Chris Jones to actually miss football games. The only thing
I think there's a way that it doesn't hurt him the way you do, and it's just a nothing thing, but it's still not a benefit, if that makes sense.
But that's, to me, not hurting him, I would disagree, because there's still the PR aspect of it and the fan base aspect of it by missing out. The benefit, I don't know what it is. Like, well, this will force them to do a deal. No. Him sitting out against the Lions is not going to suddenly make Brett Veach and Clark Hunt pick up the phone and reach the dollar amount that he wants. That has to still happen. I think he needed that before 3 o'clock today, as a matter of fact.
I still think what's kind of going on here is I would really compare it to the Deshaun Watson situation. You'd be like, well, how does that relate? Okay, so what has happened based on everything you read? Again, that same Albert Breer article over at SI says The Chiefs want to pay in line with, we'll pay you more than Quinnen Williams, so we'll pay you $25 or $26 million a year. And his report is saying that Chris Jones wants Aaron Donald money, which is like $32 million a year, $33 million a year, which is a massive chasm. You're talking about $7 million in difference in pay. So that is a huge difference between two parties. And what I think is happening here is the rest of, like, the Chiefs are like telling you the rest of the league does not take that contract serious. Because since Aaron Donald got that money, none of us have paid another player on the defensive line, no matter how good they are, that money. Similar to multiple quarterbacks have now been signed since Deshaun Watson got his deal, and everyone is like, that's a joke contract. Ha, ha, ha. Nobody is taking it seriously. The rest of the league is not going to pay quarterbacks that way just because one team decided to. And Chris Jones is like, but someone gets paid that. And if that's the case, you can see why there's a massive chasm between these two.
Yeah, I get the comparison. I think on a smaller scale, it makes sense. I mean, Watson's because it's fully guaranteed, and everybody's like, we're not giving a fully guaranteed contract to anybody. So that's even like that's just an NFL-wide issue, like whether it's quarterback or not, owners are like, yeah, we're never giving a player a fully guaranteed contract. So that's why that's been elevated to the level it is. But I get your comparison to a certain extent based off of whether or not other teams and GMs believe that number is real for Aaron Donald or not. I think at some point that's a number that will be achieved, whereas I don't think we're ever under the current CBA seeing a Deshaun Watson contract, whereas we could see another Aaron Donald contract because it's not as crazy as the Watson one.
But it'll take like 10 years.
I think it'll happen under this CBA, under this 7 more years, yeah. There's 7 years left in the CBA.
Okay, so Chris Jones. Yeah.
Bosa, there's some other guys.
It's like $1 million per person.
It's easier to
so
get
I only got to get to like 7 or 8 players, but they're still looking at it from a perspective of we're not going to do that. I think eventually a quarterback will get another fully guaranteed contract in the NFL, but it's just years away. It's further away than someone making Aaron Donald money. That's why this is playing at a lower scale. But the Chiefs are telling you that's a joke deal. He got offered it because we just won the Super Bowl. He was going to retire. And this was like the Rams Hall of Fame legacy deal. It's not an actual contract that people are signing your type of position or any type of pass rusher to. Like, and I think that is a hard bridge to cross over when you're Chris Jones and you're like, but he's making it. Like, they did actually still give him that money. So it's not, like it's a real figure to base it on.
The only thing that we know for sure is he's at least showing up by week 8. That's the only thing that we can say definitively today. Because at that point, he doesn't even get this year counting as far as accrual. And then he becomes, he's in the same boat as he is right now next year. Like, it doesn't even count. He would still have a year of a contract remaining. So the only thing that I think you and I can definitively say today is, like, we know he showed up by week 8. That's the only thing you can actually tell somebody today and confidently say. Because you're not losing a year of accrual. That's it.
Because
other than
then
that, everything else is on the table still.
Because it'd be weird to, like, missing past week 8 and then all of a sudden you're just held hostage by the same team who didn't give you a contract. You're just not playing football anymore. Well, then you should just retire.
You need to hire a new agent if that's the case, by the way.
Honestly,
your agent's not giving you great advice if it ever came to a situation like that.
Are we looking at, by the time week 8 comes, if the D-line actually is performing fine without Chris Jones, where they're like, you know what, we're tired of dealing with it, then we're going to move on? Is that something we get?
I was going to say, I battle with this a little bit, Drew. So there is an advantage in that if the defense plays well without Chris Jones, that they can be like, see, we don't need you. But I also don't think that can happen. I don't think that the defense is going to get 7 weeks into the season to be like, look how good we are without Chris Jones. They need Chris Jones. He is a vital player. Gold has said they can't win the Super Bowl without Chris Jones. I'm not saying they can't win games. That's a little different. But they're not going to win games and be like, look, we're still a great defense without Chris Jones. Nope. He's their most important pass rusher. So to me, it's like predicting something that's never going to happen. Like, I don't think they're going to get 4 weeks into the season and be dominating on the defensive line with Malik Herring.
Yeah, I'll say it again. I don't think he's sitting out till week 8, though.
No, I don't.
And so I know that we didn't think he'd get to this point, but I've said it already to start this show. I've said it probably 7 times in the last week. Just there's no benefit to missing games. So missing 1 is stupid to me. Missing 2, it just gets dumber and dumber. You're compounding dumber decisions the longer it goes. As far as Drew's question about what does it say on the field, I mean, if the Chiefs defense shuts down the Lions offense, who was one of the best in football, especially during the end of the season, and they get pressure on Jared Goff, Yeah, I mean, you know what the reaction's going to be from the fan base.
Yeah, but I also think that it's like if I do 7 back handsprings in the hot dog race tonight, I don't think.
Please do.
Gold, I know we don't speak in absolutes. I don't think the Chiefs defense is capable of shutting down an offense of that magnitude without Chris Jones. I don't think it's possible.
But I think if this team is winning games, you know what the reaction will be, though.
Winning
right?
games,
I mean,
yes.
But
to me, those are.
But you know what the reaction will be. Yeah. Like if the Chiefs start the season off 2-0 and they're winning
6-2
or whatever,
7-1,
and which is
which
is plausible, then it doesn't help Chris Jones. Just on the flip side, I don't think if the Chiefs lose to the Lions, suddenly they're like, oh man, gotta call up his agent now and give him the number he wants.
No, but the fans might swing back in your sentiment side if all of a sudden you give up 42 points, because that's more likely to me than the other. Then what happens in week 1 and 2 that the Chiefs maybe go 1-1, but they're letting up 38 points a game because they don't have Chris Jones there. You know, that's then what's the fan sentiment be like? Maybe you should make the most important defensive player.
You could maybe, I guess, have some fans say, hey, the Chiefs, you got to do what you got to do to bring him in, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
But as we said, he's not sitting out any later than week 8. So it's like, there's no reason.
He's still going to be here.
There's no reason if I'm Brett Veach in the Chiefs front office to change my standing right now. And I guess if you want to say, well, there's no reason Chris should. Well, my reason for that is, are you willing to miss $8 million in game checks? Or more than, it's more than 8, by the way. If
he's
he
up
misses
to 1.7
or something, yeah.
$1.8 million in fines, and crossing that $2 million mark pretty quick. And then the game checks start. I mean, those are
over $1 million a game
per. Yeah, it starts
nuts.
It starts multiplying. Honest to God, I never thought he would hold out. I mean, he's gonna pay $2 million in fines. But I mean, in his brain, the only way that this makes sense, Gold, missing games, like missing multiple games, is if he actually thinks at the end of this rainbow, he gets the Aaron Donald contract. Do you realize, let's say he misses the maximum number of games, 7, and he's already got this $2 million fine. So he gets fined like $15 million. In order to make it up, he would have to get Aaron Donald money just to have made this a good, just straight financial decision, let alone the on-field part. Yeah, so it means for the final 8 games, he would have to just 9 games, he had to go off, right? Just put up huge numbers.
But it hurts some.
Convince someone to give Aaron Donald money, all these things.
But it also, as we mentioned last week with Joel Corey, former NFL agent, who put out that he's messing with his number next year and sets up where the Chiefs, before we said the cap number's too big to tag him, it'll be over 30. If he misses multiple games this year, all of a sudden next year the cap number is only in the low 20s, and it becomes doable to either keep him or much easier to tag and trade, and therefore he misses the first wave of free agency. They can really screw with him long term. His decisions aren't just impacting him in 2023. His decision-making process and the advice he's getting from his agent right now is going to impact him beyond 2023, potentially in a negative way if he actually misses games, and that, of course, is a week from Thursday.
Yeah, I can't believe we're still talking about Chris Jones being gone, but sure
we are, man. What about cutdown day? That's today, 3 o'clock. The Chiefs, like everybody else,
already made a move.
Got to get down to 53. They did make a little trade today, and Amir Smith-Marset, good for him. He looked great in preseason. Just not enough room. Just not enough room in this wide receiver battle right now where they're going to possibly keep 7. We know Justin Ross is making this team.
I saw some people say that they should just have cut Watson instead of
signed a 2-year deal.
Smith-Marset.
They have to eat over $1 million. They like him on special teams. They trust him. I think Justin Watson was always making this football team. As far as the trade, they swapped conditional 7ths with Marset Smith and the Panthers.
In 2025,
oh, yeah. Man, I can't wait for that one to come home.
This pick is so far away, it doesn't even count as a real trade.
They got something for a guy that you normally are just going to cut or put him on the practice squad. So good on them. You know, we joke about developing second-round receivers into stars or whatever, and they haven't done that yet. But that was a guy that from multiple off seasons, they developed into a guy. That Carolina Panthers wide receiver room is so bad. It's old, soon-to-be retirement home Adam Thielen right now. It's Terrence Marshall, Laviska Shenault Jr., who was the worst wide receiver.
It's the slowest wide receiver unit in the NFL by a mile.
Yeah, worst wide receiver in separation. And then he's got an opportunity now. So good for Smith-Marset there with Bryce Young. And
did you like that quote from him after the game on Saturday?
Which one?
Oh, someone had said, what do you think you are in the NFL? And he said, I'm the baddest MFer in the league.
Good for him. Hey, he's got plenty of confidence right now. He looked great. Good for him.
He played great. Honestly, answer that way. I want you to feel that way about yourself. If you're not going to feel that way about yourself, then who is? I think the biggest looming remaining questions are the positions we talked about. How many tight ends? How many running backs? Because I think Justin Ross is a lock to make this roster. I would be, at this point, stunned.
Sure, yeah.
If he
I'm with you.
wasn't on the roster, to be honest.
And credit to him.
One of the fascinating things for me is Blake Bell the cut re-sign? Do they keep 4 running backs? Because at this point, I do think they should keep P. Ryan. He looks good enough. I still think that you have, like, their collection of running backs. We talk about it more with wide receiver because mostly Tony. But just so you know, right now, their collection of running backs is a guy who's coming off of offseason surgery, a guy who, for the first year in his career, maybe, Jerick McKinnon stayed healthy, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, an oft-injured running back. Are you sure you don't want depth there? If every single player at least has some sort of injury question coming into the season, I know Jerick McKinnon was healthy last year. But the big story about, like, whether or not we thought he was going to matter to the Chiefs last year was the fact that he couldn't really stay on the field. He's just an injury-prone running back because running backs tend to be that way. And so he couldn't get on the field. And with the surgery and Clyde's injury history, I kind of feel like I want that flexibility in there more than I wanted in other positions. I know running back is not the most important position, but it's like wide receiver. It's a group number mentality. I still don't just think of Pacheco is problem-solved running back, and I don't think anybody should.
I mean, Andy has shown time and time again. You brought up last year's example, and even though Ronald Jones wasn't active, like just that they kept him around just in case, and that could be the situation for P. Ryan this year. But they want depth. There's a very good chance that between McKinnon and Pacheco, one of those guys is missing a game or two. I mean, just that's usually how this goes, and so you want to make sure you have some depth and some bodies there. I'm fine with that.
It's like the Spencer Ware thing. He was never supposed to like get real time for the Chiefs. And all of a sudden he's your starting running back. Hell, Pacheco wasn't the starting running back week 1 last year. Okay, he just wasn't. Wasn't until injuries. It was like week 6 before he became the full-time starter for the Chiefs, right? Running backs are weird. All of a sudden it's just like some dude named, I'll give this name example of a running back for around the league because he just got cut by Miami. All this, because it's just like your fantasy team. All of a sudden you're like, wait, am I starting Myles Gaskin every week? And you're like, yeah, you are. That's just how running back works. I wouldn't be like.
Well, they should be able to get Prince to the practice squad, no problem now, because it just turned out to not be unfortunately, the type of camp that everybody was expecting. He started off the first week and a half was impressive, and then just something happened there, didn't translate, and
just a young undrafted player.
He'll be a guy in camp next year that'll have a chance. Most likely is what will happen.
Yeah, and if not, somebody else will figure out a way to get him on the roster. Those are the most interesting positions, right? How many running backs? How many tight ends? I guess I'm kind of interested to see if they keep Nick Jones.
I would say the defensive line only because with what we just discussed about Chris Jones, do they feel like they got to keep an extra body or two? Are they one deeper on the defensive line because of this unknown? Are they going to need to have more depth on the D-line for a week, for 5 weeks, for 8 weeks, depending on what happens with Chris Jones?
Yeah.
So maybe further down the depth chart. I mean, we have a good feel of who's making it, but maybe they keep one more extra body. I mean, Danny Shelton's going to make this team. I think they like him on the interior as some depth there. We know about Derek Nottie and Turk Warden, and then guys on the outside, Malik Herring and Kendo were 2 players at one point that seemed a little more up in the air, but I think those, specifically Malik Herring, put himself in a spot to feel comfortable about making the team.
Joshua Kendo is just one of those, like, I thought he was going to be cut like 2 years ago. But sometimes those guys work out. Think about, like, Colin Saunders' career. Colin Saunders was definitively a player that, like, we thought was on the chopping block multiple times. And all of a sudden, got some more playing time, got comfortable, and then, was a viable player for them. Look, for a player that they drafted, 3 years ago? They drafted him in 2021. This is year 3 for Joshua Kendo. He's played, I would guess, 2 games, maybe.
Yeah, he was always a project. They liked his size, right? Body could develop, they thought. But athletic freak. Those were all things that were said about him when they drafted him at the time.
But if he's
round in 2021.
But if he's a free roster spot because of what we just said, Chris Jones doesn't show up, then okay. Like, let's have a conversation. Colin Saunders played 3 games. He played 12 his rookie year, then 3 his second year, 7 his second year, never started a single one, never recorded a single stat, so barely didn't even get a snap. And then all of a sudden last year played 16 games and actually mattered for your team. So if you can turn Kano into that, 4th, 5th round picks, aren't you usually okay with that? Normally for me, it's like sometimes if you're a 4th or like sometimes I want them to mean something. But if some of your 5th round picks are guys you still roster for 3 or 4 years, but then matter for you in the final year, well, at least you got some at them. Saunders mattered at the most important time, in the middle of a Super Bowl year. Hell, his 2 best years were the 2 Super Bowl years for the Chiefs. So, okay, I'll take it across the board. But I wonder today where they're going to do that. The only other interesting thing is who is the backup quarterback?
And how did that go on Saturday? Blaine Gabbert looked obviously better than Buechele. I still think, as I said going into that game, more than their individual performance where it was a little rough for Buechele, it's still, to me, is Andy willing to trust a non-veteran experienced quarterback? That, to me, more than what Bouchel looked like is the big question.
Yeah, I don't think that if Andy's making a decision on a single preseason performance, it's a bit concerning. But it is telling that he's actually trying, because the fact that he went in ahead of Gabbert multiple times in a row is because Andy knows exactly what he's getting. There's hundreds of hours of game tape on Gabbert. There's tons of practices. He knows what he's got in him. He wants to know if he can actually pull the trigger. That'd be the weirdest spot if you're Gabbert. It's like, okay, this is just whether or not Andy is going to decide whether he can trust a veteran quarterback or not. And if he can't, then I get to keep my job. And if he decides to, for, the very rare instances for Andy to keep a young quarterback, then all of a sudden I get to keep my job. And I lose my job, and now what? And there's always, like guys like Gabbert, there's always some place for you somewhere. But I mean, do you want to be on a practice squad, a backup, any of these things? Like Colt McCoy, who just got cut from the Cardinals. It's always like he'll land on some practice squad somewhere. I don't think he's just like done.
Well, somebody else will get hurt. So even if whoever gets cut doesn't slide through and make it in week 2 or week 1, week 2, week 3, somebody gets hurt, and all of a sudden you get added to somebody's active roster. We see small moves like that happen during the season. But because of Bouchel being highlighted, can he make it through to the practice squad, though? That's the question anymore, based off of now the tape that's out there. So do you risk losing Bouchel at this time? Is somebody else willing to put Bouchel on their active roster?
When it comes to quarterbacks, the answer is usually yes. Weren't you surprised? I know we weren't on the air yesterday, so we didn't talk about it. Weren't you surprised that Trey Lance was still worth a 4th?
I was. It sounds like what happened
I was a little surprised Trey Lance still had that kind of value.
Yeah, I think what happened, it sounded like there were multiple teams willing to give up like what you thought, a 6th, and the Cowboys were that aggressive.
Overjumped.
And it's because still you get more opportunities, even if you've had some bad luck, which he has, because you were a 3rd overall pick at one point in your life. We just see that. You're going to get one extra chance, a couple extra chances because of where you were drafted. And he just barely played any football. Does Trey Lance ever start a game for the Cowboys? Man, it would take a Dak injury, and then Cooper Rush performs terribly, and suddenly they're like, all right, well, let's see what Trey Lance has. Like,
I don't even know that
that's it.
Cooper Rush doesn't have to perform that terribly. I think Cooper Rush just has to be Cooper Rush. He just has 15 for 25 games.
I'm not saying Cooper Rush is a long-term answer, but he actually last year that was the story. Cooper Rush. They were like 4-1 with him or whatever to start. Remember something like that to start the season.
And then Dak threw a record number of interceptions.
And he might do it again.
That's hopefully. Also why they're going for Trey Lance. They don't want to pay Dak Prescott again.
That's been an
angle.
They
don't want to pay Dak a third time.
That's been an angle that's been flown out there that they could use this as leverage, which I guess it is kind of funny to think about, though. Like, if you're Dak Prescott, are you really shaking in your boots? Like, oh, man.
I'm not even sure it's leverage as much as it'd be like when you get around to Dak and you haven't won anything, and now he's 32 years old, you're like, we're out.
And you're going to go with the guy that hasn't done anything?
I think you go with Trey Lance and you draft somebody, right? You just make it an open competition again, and you go with talent. Because here's the problem. Dallas is really stuck in neutral for a long time. Dak is essentially like Kirk Cousins. He doesn't get the bad reputation like Kirk. We talk about him like he's bigger and badder than Kirk. But now that the dust has settled on their careers, they are usually on pretty good teams, never seemingly have enough juice to go the rest of the way.
Trey's 23, too. So
he's young. Yeah, that is young, 23. I just think you keep Trey. You walk on Dak, you draft a quarterback, and you put them in a competition together and find out who. Or you start Trey for an entire year and find out before you draft a quarterback.
See, I would agree if Jerry Jones wasn't 95 years old, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm obviously exaggerating. But the point is, he's desperate. He knows. He's talked about it openly. That
he has.
I don't think he's willing to do a reset. He's not willing to do a reset kind of thing. Like, he's always going for it. So that would be the only hesitation I would have about, like, hey, just going into a year or two where it's just a rookie and Trey Lance battling it out. But we'll talk more about this a little bit later on. Up next, though, JJ Picollo, the Royals general manager. We'll talk a little Royals baseball. I need some advice from JJ. Hot dog derby tonight. I don't think he's ever ran in one, but he's seen a lot of them. Has he paid any attention? We need some advice from JJ next.
Cody and Gold.
The facts on this show are irrelevant.
Brought to you by Gann Asphalt and Concrete. For asphalt, concrete, and parking lot maintenance, Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lot. Trusted in Kansas City since 1994. Online at GANNasphalt.com.
College football fans, are you ready for Week 1? DraftKings Sportsbook is hooking you up with a can't-miss offer to start the season strong. This week, new customers can bet just $5 on college football and score $200 in bonus bets instantly. Anything can happen in college football. Your team could go from unranked to dynasty mode in just a couple of years. Change comes fast. The only thing that's a lock is the great offers from DraftKings Sportsbook. Life's more fun when you're in on the action, and you can deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you want. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code KCSP. New customers can score $200 in bonus bets instantly when they bet just $5 on college football. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code KCSP. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 and over and physically present in Kansas. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/football terms. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort.
Hey, are your old windows letting all that good air conditioning out? Well, on those hot summer days, that cool air is escaping through your old leaky windows and the hot air is pouring in. You want to replace those old windows and keep the cool air inside your house this summer. We still got some time in the summer. You also need to prepare for the winter when the opposite is going to happen. That's why I'm here telling you about Window World, the official window of the Kansas City Chiefs. Window World's windows are one of 2 windows with a Good Housekeeping seal of approval, ranked #1 in number of windows sold in the country by Qualified Remodeler magazine. Just over 20 years in business, they have improved the look and thermal efficiency. Over 52,000 homes in Kansas City. You get a lifetime warranty that covers all parts, glass breakage, and labor, because Window World uses a double-strength glass that gives it a strength that is not commonly used in replacement windows. Right now, they're offering 18 months, same as cash financing with approved credit. All you need to do is call them for a free home estimate. Replace your windows and keep the cool air inside your house this summer with Window World.
Was your local supply chain impacted by the closure of Yellow Freight? There's a solution, and it's Spot On. KC's one-stop shop to ship one pallet to a truckload within 250 miles of the metro. Short-haul trucking, yard management, including single trailer repositioning, white glove final mile service, same-day service, and more. Spot On's service record and innovative custom solutions separates them from the rest. Spot On will go the extra mile for you. SpotOnTMS.com. That's SpotOnTMS.com.
School is starting and so is football. Make it easy with Old Shawnee Pizza and their Tuesday special. Any single topping pizza is just $12.99. Call or go to ShawneePizza.com to order. Old Shawnee Pizza, Shawnee, Lenexa, and now carry out in the Crossroads.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to 4hims.com/radio. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the name brands to treat ED at up to 95% off. That's right, the same active ingredient as the brand name for 95% less. It's the same ED medication, still prescribed by a licensed medical provider, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, 4hims.com/radio. That's 4hims.com/radio for your free online visit. FORHIMS.com/RADIO.
Visit jrhailcheck.com to find out when storms last pounded your roof. You have a limited time to file a claim.
You're always better with a roof from JR.
Go to jrhailcheck.com.
Right now at Wendy's, when you buy either a Dave's Single, Spicy Chicken Sandwich, Medium Frosty, or 10-piece nuggets, you can get another for just $1. Your dollar never tasted so good. So it's obvious what everyone will get, right?
Definitely nugs
Spicy
and
chicken
a Frosty.
sandwich,
Dave's Single and a Frosty for
Frosty
me.
and a Frosty.
Okay, who said Frosty and a Frosty? Pick your obvious choice. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's, buy one, get one for $1.
Limited time only. Price of participation may vary. U.S. Wendy's, valid for item of equal or lesser value. Cannot be combined in a combo or any other offer.
Labor Day savings start now at Lowe's. Get up to an additional $1,500 off select major kitchen appliances. And save $100 off select laundry pairs, priced $1,396 or more. Plus, pick up the latest DeWalt Power Stack 20-volt max 5 amp hour battery kit and get a select Bear tool free. Lowe's knows home improvement. Valid through 8/30. Appliance savings vary based on purchase amount. Exclusions apply. See Lowe's.com for details. While supplies last.
When a cold comes on strong, knock it out with Vicks DayQuil Severe for max strength daytime relief. Just one dose of Vicks DayQuil Severe starts to relieve 9 of your worst cold and flu symptoms to help take you from 9 to none. Power through your day with Vicks DayQuil Severe, the daytime non-drowsy, coughing, aching, fever, sore throat, 9 to none medicine. Use as directed.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Thinking about gas mileage. You know, changing your oil with a full synthetic oil like Castrol Edge can help your engine get more miles. Right now, you can get 5 quarts with an STP extended life oil filter for only $37.99. Get started on your next job today with the parts you need when you need them at AutoZone or AutoZone.com.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
Hey, Rob Bradford here. I have set out on a mission with my good friends at FanDuel to prove what I have known for some time. Baseball isn't boring. Now I have a daily podcast to prove it with some of the most notable people in the baseball world, screaming baseball isn't boring from the mountaintops, or at least agreeing to come on our show. Players, managers, GMs, and yes, even the commissioner of baseball, Rob Manfred. It has been a constant wave of baseball's most powerful voices. So join the revolution. Subscribe and soak in Baseball Isn't Boring. Listen on your Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. You'll be glad you did.
The 610 Sports Radio phone line is brought to you by Onder Law Injury Lawyers. Visit getjim.com.
Arvest Bank, proud supporter of your Kansas City Chiefs radio network. Arvest Bank, proud supporter of your Kansas City Chiefs radio network. Stop by any Arvest branch to find out why banking with Arvest and the Arvest Go mobile app makes life easier. Arvest Bank, proud to be here game day. Let's do this.
All right, just getting started here on a Tuesday. Expected to have the general manager and executive vice president of baseball ops, JJ Picollo, call in the show here in a couple of minutes. Wanted to also get his advice for Hot Dog Derby tonight. 6:10 day at the K. Hope to see you guys out at Kauffman Stadium. Royals baseball this evening. We will be out there, in the 4th inning, running in the Hot Dog Derby.
Is that the inning we run in, or is that when we meet them?
I thought we met in the 2nd and we actually run in the 4th. Maybe I have it backwards, but it
can't be backwards. Can't meet in the 4th and run in the 2nd.
Well, I don't know what it is then. Do you have the answer?
I'm
going with the 4th.
You're probably right. I'm not going to lie. I very rarely read those detailed emails until we get a little bit closer.
Into the 2nd inning, take place into the 4th.
That is correct. Into the 4th inning, we will race in the hot dog race.
So tonight. Now, you have experience, though.
You ran in a potato race. It's the same difference.
You ran on this exact same track.
Yeah, I didn't run great, though.
Exact curvature.
I would put my current put my current foot percentage, out of 100% of health, about 85. So not bad. That's a pretty decent day for me. That's better than it was a couple of weeks ago.
You been getting treatment on the foot?
I've just been trying to take care of it, I want to make sure that I'm healthy for the race. I didn't want an excuse going into the race.
Drew's the heavy favorite. He's relished tonight. I'm ketchup, you're mustard.
You guys need to stop with this heavy favorite thing.
You're the favorite.
You're definitely the heavy favorite,
man. You're skinnier.
No,
you ran.
All the pressure's on you, man.
You're a decent height for it, right? You're I don't know how tall you are, but you're
You're a decent height for it. I don't know how tall you are.
Well, he's not too short. Well, he's taller than me, I think. So it's he's in good position there. How tall are you, Drew?
5'11", 6 foot.
Okay.
Aren't you guys the same height?
I don't know. We're close. Felt like maybe Drew's a little taller, but I can't tell. But so we're close in height. Mm-hmm. So he's not too short. Runner. I think the lack
I'm
of
not
experience
a
can help
runner.
you.
I used to be. I'm not anymore.
Well, I never was.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is.
I don't care if you used to be. I never was a runner.
All right.
So that's just got to count for something. And on top of that, Carrington got bumped to
secondary first pitch. Which, by the way, this happens a lot. There's usually 2 first pitches at a lot of games now because of celebrities. And Garth Brooks is at the K today. You guys probably have seen he's making an announcement, I think, with TuneIn Radio or something. And he's going to have some other former athletes or whatever with him. And it sounds like Garth Brooks, of course, understandably so, is also throwing out the first pitch. So I'm guessing Carrington will not be the first pitch. I'm guessing he will be right after Garth Brooks, which now there's someone directly to compare to. Right after Garth Brooks throws the first pitch, so Carrington gets to go.
It's funny. For me now, the Carrington first pitch is not just about, hey, did you spike it? Did you spray it way left? Mm-hmm. Did you man up and toe the rubber? Did you stand on the mound?
See, if Garth doesn't, then Carrington probably doesn't have to.
But
if Garth goes to the rubber, then Carrington has to.
But also, I'm going to directly compare your first pitch and your effort at the first pitch to Garth Brooks. If you throw a worse pitch than Garth, then of your first pitch, which he's been asking for years, yours was not as good
I
as
was going to say,
Brooks.
I'm always careful to criticize the first pitch because
yours wasn't great.
Because the video of mine at a minor league game was terrible. Now, you know what my answer to that, though, over and over has been, Carrington's known for weeks, potentially, he was throwing out a first pitch. I found out 5 minutes before, and I had been drinking when I threw out a first pitch at a minor league game. I didn't have weeks of heads up. So Carrington has no excuse tonight, and now he's got Garth Brooks also throwing out a first pitch. But
it's a lot of added pressure.
All three of us, though, are running in the hot dog derby tonight.
I actually feel less pressure in this hot dog derby because versus the last time, right? Gold, versus the last time, I knew. I didn't know how everyone was going to race. I didn't know how the hot dog suits were going to go. I wasn't totally sure how it was going to look. This time, it's like, okay, I didn't do great the last time, so I've already not done well in a hot dog. Less pressure. Nobody's expecting me to win. Less pressure, right? I'm back in the same costume. I think Mustard might be in first place right now versus...
No, I have not been keeping track.
What happened before? Why not? Why are you keeping track?
That's something I've been keeping an eye on.
So,
hot dog derby standings 2023.
I want to do proud for Mustard. All those things. I feel like there's less pressure this time. All the pressure's on Drew.
Someone wants
He's the new guy.
Someone wants betting odds.
I think he's minus
Drew,
450.
Yeah, Drew is. Man, I even go higher.
Minus 1,000?
No. I think we're not too far. I think Drew is minus 550. I think you are plus 175, and I think I'm plus 300. You ran in this last year. There's no evidence for me on this. We also do know the combine times. We just don't know what happens when you have a giant foam hot dog.
What's funny about us is you and I have raced multiple times, and we are maybe weirdly like a dead heat. It's you beat me in the 40 when we were in Miami. I beat you in the combine 40 each of the last 2 times.
It's true.
But then I also beat Nick in a sprint in this parking lot the day of the hot dog race last year, and then still lost in the race. So you and we're probably a dead heat. We are, but I think your biggest advantage, the reason why you should be favored ahead of me, your biggest advantage is there is a height advantage in the suit. It is easier to see and maneuver inside of the suit based on your height.
Thanks to Durivision. LASIK, I can see better than both of you.
Not the seat part. I just meant the physically being able to get there.
Okay.
Do you guys have like a celebration if you win? Like what you're gonna do?
They get your ass off the field
quick.
They
really? Run you out.
I mean, you can do whatever you want. You got to get off the field quick. They escort you out of there in a hurry. They want you off the field, back to baseball.
Yeah, they've been speeding things up. No more screwing around.
I mean, I would like to celebrate a little, but yeah, they don't.
I mean, yeah, you don't try to run on the field.
Really, what I'm trying to avoid is running into the dugout, falling or tripping near the end. I want to avoid, like that little kid whose pants fell down. I'd like to avoid that.
I don't think that's going to be a problem. That's not going to be a problem. I think you'll be good.
I hope you're right.
We'll try to connect with JJ Picollo maybe a little bit later on in the show. Obviously, something may have came up, a little miscommunication. But I mentioned to start the show that we had a little team building day yesterday, and we needed your official barbecue review, Drew. We went to a barbecue restaurant, we went to a brewery here in town. That's why we weren't on the show, and a really tough day for us at work yesterday. But we warned you. Be careful what you say. Your thoughts. We went to Joe's, and you had your first ever Z-Man sandwich. What did you think?
I thought it was really good. The fries were spectacular. The environment reminded me of something, but the food is unique, and the food is very good. So I'm looking forward to another trip and exploring some of the other barbecue places around.
Offered you some burnt ends. You did not take us up on that. It's a Kansas City thing. I was a little worried.
You will have to get those at some point.
Yeah, I'll have to get burn ends at some point. So you guys, you, Gold in particular, said the Z-Man sandwich. We went to a bank here, and the lady helping us said Z-Man sandwich. So I felt like I was obligated to.
If you've never been to Joe's, you got to try that sandwich.
That's their, that or the Rocket Pig. That's like the signature sandwich.
I felt obligated.
By the way, a little news in the NFL. Buffalo is putting Von Miller on the PUP list. So he is officially out their first 4 games. That's the Jets, Raiders, Commanders, and Miami.
No surprise. That was expected. There's talk he wouldn't be available till October. So
no, but it's kind of a big deal from a competitive standpoint in the sense that we don't know who's going to win that division. And you and I both know how different Buffalo played with and without Von Miller last year. They took a huge – that's going to be the move that ends up burying their Super Bowl chances, isn't it? When we look back and we're like, hey, they didn't win a Super Bowl – we're going to say it's because they threw all that money at Von Miller, shrunk the timing of their window because of how much money they tossed towards him, and they won't be able to do as many things.
My guess is, though, if Von Miller doesn't come back from injury as the same player or has another setback, this could be it for him, though. So they may not have to deal with the actual contract that exists. Von Miller, though, prior to the injury last year, was dominant. It looked like the same Von Miller from a year or two ago. So that's the question, whether they get to a Super Bowl or not. But performance-wise, last year, Von Miller was incredible. He won the game against the Chiefs single-handedly late. But then he suffered a serious injury. What does he look like when he comes back from the surgery that was necessary? That'll be the biggest question here in a couple weeks. But I'm not surprised that he's missing 4 to 6 weeks to start the season. I don't think anybody in Buffalo would have thought he'd be available any earlier than middle of October anyway.
I was just looking at the remainder of that contract.
Yeah,
so this year, his dead cap is $40 million. He's only a $7 million cap hit this year, despite the fact he's a $40 million dead cap hit because it's just guaranteed money. Next year, it would still cost him more. He's a $23 million cap hit. It would cost you $10 million more than that to cut him. Then the following year is when you could finally go. He's a $23 million cap hit at age 36, $15 million to let him go. So you'd save $8 million. You'd still have to eat an $8 million dead cap hit. The following year, finally, at 37, 2026. That's when they could, for sure get out without costing themselves serious financial risk. By then, they're going to have to, find a new wide receiver to pay. And Josh Allen will be making more. You know how this goes. Windows close unless you are teams like the Chiefs. There's only so many teams in the league at a time that are good for 10 consecutive years. Then you got to hit the swell for 2 or 3 years and then ride back to the top,
Yeah, before that, we were mentioning yesterday, we were all hanging out a little bit, and Bob said we should have just drank all day instead. We should have just done that. That would have been the preference instead of we did drink a little bit yesterday. We went to Boulevard. What'd you think?
Said we should have gotten drunk, day drunk.
Yeah, on a Monday
I
afternoon.
feel like that was something that was on. There were a lot of things on the table, but we ended up doing what we were doing. I thought Boulevard was great.
I would have been fine. Here's the problem. Of all the days of the week that you could day drink, Monday is the
after a weekend
one. And yeah, I was hungover on Sunday, so I didn't really want to.
You were hungover still Monday?
No. But I was hungover all day on Sunday, so then the appeal of drinking on Monday, you're like, do I want to do this again? Do I want to get drunk with Drew in the middle of the day? Drew, let's just choose one day in a month from now when we all we promise each other we'll all go get drunk.
Okay.
Are you in? It'll be like you're 21 again.
I'll say,
when's the last time you went?
Yeah, same question.
You went out and just got walked into the day being like, I'm getting drunk tonight.
Yeah,
been a long time, man.
Yeah, I don't go out saying, man, tonight's the night where I'm getting bleeped up. No, we're
gonna do it one time.
That. Yeah,
we're gonna do it one time now, just to get to know Drew, his true self. How often do you get drunk? How many times a year? I'm good for about 2.
I would say probably about that much. The last time that I can intentionally drink a lot was my wedding and celebrating afterwards. That's the.
That was
the
last
time
ago. That was the last time you were really drunk.
Intently going to drink a ton.
Yeah, text line thinks it's time for an intervention with Cody now.
What?
Yeah, someone says it's time. It's time to talk this thing out a little bit.
Huh? What about
some of the comments recently?
Spoken like a true alcoholic. Which part? I said that it didn't appeal to me to keep drinking because I was hungover.
That's a good answer.
That to me is the opposite. As someone who grew up around alcoholics, it doesn't usually you're like, I'm hungover. You know what I'll do to solve this hangover? Drink more. That's usually the approach. I'm telling you I was hungover, and I'm like, the last thing I want to do is drink.
Yeah, Cody, we came over yesterday, and so did Drew. We were playing the new Madden and stuff, and immediately he said, "Where's the beer?" He walked in. Immediately, it was 9:30 in the morning. Yeah. He came over. Immediately, he said, "Where's the beer?" He went straight to the fridge.
Sometimes you got to start early. I've got a bad reputation on this show that I don't think is fair.
Well,
reputation
happens.
I'll bet in the last year you've been what we would deem drunk more than me.
What makes you say that? I disagree, actually.
I don't have that many opportunities.
Yeah.
The kids, just the timing of actually trying, not trying, but just
How many poker nights have you had, though, in the last year?
3. A handful.
Each one of those involved you. Each one of those
drinking, yes, but drunk, no.
Oh, you
I don't get good and drunk playing poker usually.
Okay.
The last time I had a poker game, it was Pete who was drunk, not me.
Now you're calling Pete out.
It was Pete Sweeney.
Now you're calling Pete Sweeney out on the air.
It had nothing to do with me.
Just calling everybody out.
I was sober. Pete was the one who.
Oh, you were drinking. Sober?
Well, sober's drunk. I just had 2 drinks.
Man, oh man.
Different.
Man, oh man.
Someone said you casted jet ski while you were drunk.
I wasn't drinking. It was 9:30 in the morning on a Sunday. I was not
You're
drinking.
at the lake. Everybody drinks at 9:30 in the morning on a Sunday at the lake.
We were packing up to leave. That's the killer about that falling off the jet ski. The trip was done. They were still packing some stuff up. I was done. They said, "Hey, we're going to be another hour. Do you just want to go take the jet ski out?" So the trip was already over, and that's where. And I didn't crash the jet ski. I flew off the jet ski. The jet ski stayed upright the whole time. I scraped my hands. Everything else was fine.
I think that kind of qualifies as crashing it. If you fly off of something, you've crashed it, right?
It didn't
like
run
if I fly out of
if
I fly out of my car window, I've effectively crashed my car.
Well,
I'm out of my car window.
In order to fly out of your car, in order to fly out of the car, you would have need to crash. The jet ski doesn't have to be crashed. The jet ski never crashed. I crashed.
You crashed into the water. Just because the jet ski flipped back over didn't mean
it never flipped. That's my point. The jet ski never flipped over.
Then how did you fly off of it again?
Because the jet ski went airborne and shifted to the right. My body went the opposite direction. So picture me hanging on.
Jet ski crashing qualifies differently. I think it qualifies as, I don't know, maybe it just counts as flying yourself off. We can have more people who deal with boats to answer this question. Okay.
We're going to reconnect with JJ Picollo, by the way, around the noon hour today. So we'll have JJ Picollo on in the noon hour. We'll reschedule that and talk some Royals baseball with him. Although there was thing, you're getting a little sad. I can tell you're getting a little sad, not about 50 games under 500. You're getting a little sad because I think you're realizing finally that one of your favorite Royals of all time, like this is kind of it.
I'll be honest. I'm a little bummed at the fact that I was realizing that this is the final 5 starts of a Hall of Fame career we're watching of Zach Greinke, and I think he's done. I think Zach Greinke's not going to play. I think Zach Greinke's not going to play baseball anymore, and he's my favorite Royals player of all time. And he is, as of right now, maybe the last Royals Hall of Famer you will see for a long time. The next best options are Salvador Perez, who is still, admittedly, kind of a long shot, right, Gold, to get into the Hall of Fame one day.
Got a lot of work to do.
The Baseball Hall of Fame, not the Royals Hall of Fame.
To get traded this offseason to a team that can win a World Series in the rest of his career.
Yeah, and keep putting up numbers, by the way. Not just do that. Keep playing another 5, 6, 7 years of catching and hitting home runs and doing those things. And then you, like, and then in addition to that, it's like, so he's stuck. And we're just like, okay, so what are we going to do? And then what's the next best? Bobby Wood Jr.? And that's way too early to even think there's even a possibility of it. So those are the only 2 choices of it. I think we're on the final 5 starts of Zach Greinke's Hall of Fame career, and I'm bummed. Is nobody else bummed about this, or is it just like we don't care enough about the team to care? Because now I'm starting to realize I am going to make a plan to at least watch Zach Greinke pitch one more time. I watched him in the final start of his Cy Young year. I drove up to Minnesota for it. Now I feel like I have to make a plan that one of the times that Zach Greinke is at the K for the final projected 5 starts, I am there to watch one of the final starts of his Hall of Fame career.
Yeah, I mean, it's an unbelievable career. It's been a ridiculous career. As you said, he's going to easily be a first ballot Hall of Famer when he's eligible for Cooperstown. And it is time, though. I think based off of the performances, it is time. And am I going to make sure I'm there for his last outing? I'll be honest, no. It's not something that I feel like I have to go to. You obviously have a different connection, first of all. Number
He's
2,
one of my favorite players.
Number 2, a lot of it is this team's 50 games under 500, so it's hard for anybody to be gravitating towards that.
Yeah, but they were probably 50 games under 500 when he was winning the Cy Young. I made an excuse then. I might as well make it now.
But back then, he was pitching like a Cy Young pitcher. It's a little bit different.
I know, but I'm bummed. It's over, man. It's the end of an era.
Yeah. Also, I think more likely that people show up in 7 years from now when he's having a ceremony at Kauffman Stadium and they can have the treatment that Lorenzo Cain and others got when they came back. Or Ned Yost this weekend, by the way, is going to be inducted into the Royals Hall of Fame. When they come back, things like that is when I think...
Wait, that hasn't already happened?
No, it's happening this Saturday, I think.
Why did I think that had already happened?
I don't know. He's been back for he's been back for his players, right?
I was like, he's definitely been back before.
But I believe his is this Saturday, the 2nd.
Wow, good old Ned. We had quite a few run-ins, Ned and I, over the years.
That's what I hear. I heard you had. I don't know, Drew. I heard there was a conversation about space once that occurred. I can't confirm or deny.
Also a conversation about hangovers once, but that was private. It was a different circumstance.
Off the record?
No. Oh. Well, off the record. I mean, it's just gonna make me look bad based on the previous conversation.
Here we go again.
It was like
2 minutes removed from alcohol discussion.
Wait. It was like the second or third to last day of spring training the year I was the Royals insider, and a friend had come in town from Arizona. And, we got after it a little too hard the night before. And I was sitting in Ned's office. I didn't usually get to be in Ned's office before. They kept that for writers and stuff. I had to go do the stuff out on the field. But it was like late in camp, and nobody else was there but me. So it was just like they let me be in the writers' meeting. And in that moment, I had said nothing because I was bad. I was in bad shape. So I was very hungover. That was maybe one of the worst hangovers I've ever had.
I mean, this is not good for you.
So I was hungover, and I hadn't said anything in like 8 minutes, and Ned looked at me in the middle of me. He was like, "What are you didn't even ask anything? What are you doing here?" I said, "Ned, I'm hungover, man. I can't do this today." And he's like, "What do you mean you can't do it today?" I'm like, "I don't want to do this today."
You just said that?
I showed up to work. I was at my job. I just told him, not today. I don't have it in. I can't fight this fight, you know?
You were so overwhelmed that you just openly admitted in front of the Royals manager, dude, I'm hungover. I can't do it.
Oh, yeah. Like, that's the first time he's ever heard. At least it's honesty. He probably appreciate it. Oh, man. Make myself look better every second of the day today. I just wanted to point out that I was bummed out. That
Reminder, tonight, Hot Dog Derby, you're not allowed to drink.
Oh, I'm aware.
We've been handed rules, so you got it. I mean,
didn't drink before the last one? Won't drink before this one.
So we need to have someone on call. If you want, just in case, if you want to text in, if you're going to the K tonight.
You want to back up for me?
And just in case Cody clearly can't control his drinking, just in case there's an issue and we need a last-minute fill-in so it's not just
I didn't drink before the last hot dog race.
Two-condiment race. Then
that's a way less fun.
A two-condiment race, not nearly as entertaining as having three.
I assume they would just get somebody else from 610. Sure, they'd find somebody else. Spec could race in it or something.
Okay.
Can find a backup here. But if you are going to the game, I guess, you know.
So text, we need a backup. You're making me a little nervous that you're not going to be ready to go for the race tonight.
I'll be fine. I will be available for the race. You should be more worried about my foot than anything else.
Well, I'm not worried about that.
But there's an athletic event.
Yeah, but that benefits Drew and I.
Oh, yeah.
That's fine. If your foot screws up, your foot screws up, man. Don't fall. Don't fall.
God, I don't want to fall. That would be the. I'd never live it down on this show.
Oh, any of us fall.
Never get to live it down. That's who you'll be forever. The person who fell in the hot dog race.
It'd be pretty epic, by the way.
It's why you kind of run tentative. You're afraid of becoming that.
Is it top heavy? You just.
It's not top heavy. It's just awkward. It's a giant hot dog suit, man. It's not easy to run in.
Is there one that is you would prefer more than the other, or are they all basically the same? Just the makeup of the.
I've never been in all of them. I've only been in the mustard suit. The same one I'll be in.
Wait, hold on. You think that the relish suit might be more aerodynamic than the ketchup suit? That's some deep diving stuff now.
Maybe one's been less used, you know?
They all three race every time. What do you mean less used? I know for a fact that's not possible. They all three race every game, or every game that they do it. It's not just the two-condiment race.
I'm just bracing to be in that suit for 20 minutes leading up until
yes, you will be. If you're a sweater, it's going to be a problem. You're going to be pouring.
Going to be drenched. You'll get loose though. Your muscles will be warm. You'll be good to go. You won't be pulling anything.
I did stretch last time. Felt like that was important.
While you were stretching, while you were wearing. How do you stretch with the thing on?
Well, you don't have pants, so I mean you can still lift the costume up and stretch your legs a little bit.
Okay.
It's such a weird thing to describe. Once you guys are in it, then we don't have to talk about this anymore. Like, what is it like to wear the suit? I don't know. Kind of awkward.
There'll be video if you can't make it out. And if you are going to the game, please take video if you don't mind.
Yeah. Get multiple angles in case something goes down.
Especially if there's a fall.
My wife said she's going to be laughing the entire time that the race is
well, it is for entertainment.
That is the point.
It'll be great.
So all right, coming up next, 11 o'clock hour. All right, let's not talk about Chris Jones for a second here. Outside of him, the biggest question left for the Chiefs now that we have cutdown day and taking place in a couple of hours heading into the regular season. We'll get to that next here on Cody and Gold.
There's Kelsey to the end zone.
Cody and Gold brought to you by Gann Asphalt and Concrete. For asphalt, concrete, and parking lot maintenance, Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lot. Trusted in Kansas City since 1994. Online at GANNasphalt.com. Don't miss the Chiefs Red Half Hour every day at 11:30 on your official broadcast partner of the Chiefs, 610 Sports Radio.
It's touchdown Kansas City when you sell your home to Rex at RexBuysKC.com. The champions when it comes to buying homes in Kansas City.
That's right, Mitch. We'll pay more for any home. No hassles or strings attached. We'll buy your home as is for quick, instant cash in only 7 days.
Every home seller scores more with Rex. Rex and his team buy homes for any reason. Bankruptcy, foreclosure, probate, damaged or vacant homes, as is, and you rush away with instant cash.
Homeowners, don't get sacked with a poor financial decision. Call me, Rex. Text now at 816-330-6000. Fair and honest prices because we know bad things can happen to good people.
Tackled by big home improvement costs, roofs, plumbing, exteriors cost you thousands. Pocket that money and walk away debt and worry-free.
Before you sign to sell, call me at 816-330-6000 or online at rexbuyskc.com.
Call the champions, Rex Buys Houses, at 816-330-6000 or online at rexbuyskc.com.
Hey everybody, this is Andrew Filipponi here, bringing you the Parlay of the Day, brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So excited for week 1 of the college football season. We can make some money on some of these lopsided games, starting with number 10, Tennessee hosting Virginia. The Vols are laying 4 touchdowns, but Virginia is breaking in a new QB after losing its starter in the transfer portal. Back Michigan laying 36 against ECU. The QB is back, and so is the 1-2 punch at running back. I'm going to fade Deion Sanders in week 1. TCU will look to bury Coach Prime. Give me the Horned Frogs, minus 20.5. A Tennessee-Michigan TCU parlay pays out at plus 550. That's it for the Parlay of the Day. Brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app today and make every moment more with America's #1 sportsbook.
21 plus in President, Kansas. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Getting help is your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com.
Where can you find steel, aluminum, brass, and stainless, and occasionally random stuff in the back? The Foot, who has an extensive line of Blue Demon welding supplies, filler, rods, and wire. The Foot, who is KC's and Topeka's only stocking dealer for Fronius professional welding equipment. The Foot, who is KC's and Topeka's only Fronius authorized service and repair center. The Foot, where can you go to take a Fronius welder for a test drive? The Foot, where can you find Colossus, your friendly neighborhood robot? The Foot, just like Colossus, Metal by the Foot stands tall and ready to help both pro and DIY warriors with their metal needs. For over 35 years, Metal by the Foot has continued to up their game by providing you with the convenience and selection of metals you have come to expect. Discover new and unique quality products to take your project and skills to the next level. Get instant pricing on most items at metalbythefoot.com. That's metalbythefoot.com. When you need a piece of metal, remember, metal doesn't have to cost an arm or a leg, just the foot.
This season, Sonic has taken their game to a whole new level. Get ready for Sonic Buffalo Chicken Dip Bites. Dane and Hughes here, and that's right. Sonic has made Buffalo Chicken Dip portable using juicy chicken, buffalo sauce, and melty cheese, all stuffed in a golden brown shell. They're crispy on the outside and creamy on the inside. It's the ultimate game day snack made portable. Sonic Buffalo Chicken Dip Bites are only $2.99, and they're only available for a limited time. So what are you waiting for? Get Sonic Buffalo Chicken Dip Bites for all your favorite game.
Reggie was a nurse for 16 years.
I had become very burnt out. I wasn't making good money.
Then it happened.
There was an ad for My Computer Career, and it just spoke to me.
My Computer Career was the best decision he ever made.
I could study anywhere from my laptop, and I was working in the first couple weeks of me being in class.
Reggie hit a home run.
The field is teeming with jobs.
Become an IT pro in just months with zero experience at mycomputercareer.edu.
The school is amazing.
It's not rocket science. It's mycomputercareer.edu. This is one student's experience. Individual results vary.
Consumer Cellular's award-winning customer support is 100% based in the U.S., and you are 100% based in the U.S. That's something you have in common with Consumer Cellular's customer service. Consumer Cellular's customer service likes pizza, and you like pizza. You want a free month of service, and we want to give you one. We obviously can't wait to hear from you. Visit consumercellular.com/free month and enter code FREEMONTH to get your second month free. Consumer Cellular. When freedom calls, we're here to answer. Promotion is subject to terms and conditions.
Made to Shine. Real stories from Shane Company customers.
They were all there. My grandparents, all the cousins. I was the first one in my family to graduate from college. They were so proud. After the ceremony, my mom gave me a necklace with my birthstone. I wear it every day. Sometimes I even think it carries a secret superpower, that when I wear it, everything will be okay.
We carry the widest selection of handcrafted jewelry, made to help everybody shine bright. Shane Company, fine jewelry since 1929.
Get ready to save with Spectrum One. You get Spectrum Internet delivering fast and reliable speeds for $49.99 a month. Free advanced Wi-Fi for enhanced privacy and security. And a free Spectrum mobile line with unlimited talk, text, and data, plus nationwide 5G. Go to spectrum.com/save more and use the Spectrum One savings calculator to see how much you can save today.
Offer subject to change. Valid for qualified residential customers only. Service not available in all areas. Restrictions apply.
Dick Butkus here. I've got a game changer for you. When it comes to creating a winning website, there's only one team I trust, AmericanEagle.com. I've known them for 25 years. In my career, I learned that success isn't just about talent, it's about teamwork. That's what you'll find at AmericanEagle.com. They'll listen to your goals and work with you and handle all your digital properties. They'll ensure your website is user-friendly, responsive, and optimized for search engines. AmericanEagle.com also provides ongoing support and digital marketing strategies that will keep you ahead of the competition. They even host our podcast. Whether you're a medium to large business or a big-time player, AmericanEagle.com is the top choice. Visit www.AmericanEagle.com for website design, development, and online solutions that deliver efficiency and results. Go to AmericanEagle.com or call them at 877-WEB-NOW-1.
You're listening to 610 Sports Radio from the Max Motors Studios. Win Royals tickets 1 hour prior to first pitch by listening to Vern's On Deck Show, KCSP Kansas City, WDAF HD2 Liberty, always live on the free Odyssey app.
Yeah.
11 o'clock hour, Cody and Gold, Alex Gold, Cody Tab with you. Producer Drew. Still, every once in a while, I get someone who'll text in and they'll be like, wait, is this the permanent producer? Yes, Drew is our permanent producer going forward.
I thought that was well established. It's been
Someone
like 2
said
weeks now.
someone that hadn't listened. I said, okay. At Drew B. Nix on Twitter.
I haven't listened since one person earlier was like, what happened to the old producer? I'm like,
you've been gone for 2 months.
Sir, I'm not sure you're a listener of this show. I think maybe at some time you were, but we might have lost you somewhere in there. Let's bring you back home, you know? Let's not lose you for 2 months this time. What do we got to do to incentivize
That's
you?
football season now.
To
People are back.
stick around. Oh, you know, they just turned out they're like,
yeah.
I went, ooh, baseball clock.
Football season.
Talk to you guys in September.
That's what it is for a lot of people. And again, the baseball team's 50 games under 500, so it's somewhat understandable why that might be. Although we've been talking plenty of football for months and months and months. We will get to what's bugging me, I should say, really, what's bugging Drew coming up in about 20 minutes or so. But let's step away from Chris Jones for a second. We understand the elephant in the room there, and we will continue to address that. But the biggest question left for the Chiefs now, though, that regular season's a week from Thursday, which is nuts. Cutdown day is today. Cuts have to take place by 3 o'clock this afternoon. The biggest question left for me, other than I'm going to pivot away from the wide receiver room as well, because it's another conversation we've had 100 times. So I'm trying to avoid Chris Jones, and I'm trying to avoid talking about the wide receivers. I think the next part, honestly, is does Felix Anudike-Uzomah have the George Karlaftis type of leap, or is it truly going to be a developmental season? Like I know you think Karlaftis can jump from 6.5 to double digits. My question is, can Felix get to 4 or 5 sacks at the end of the season, or at least show signs that he's getting to the quarterback? That's still one of my bigger questions. Like, is this truly going to be a red-shirty type of year for Felix, or is he going to have a bigger impact than we think?
I think that's a more than fair question. But to me, if I were like banking it on that, the bigger question for me is still like, yeah, if Karlaftis is that guy. He had a really good rookie season, like above what you would ask from a sack production standpoint. And we know he was getting pressure before those moments, but until you get a sack, I don't really care how many pressures you're getting. Get to the quarterback so we can start realizing that as a potential. I think that still remains a question for me. I think one of the biggest remaining questions that we just ignore because of the interior is Juwan Taylor and Donovan Smith. Are they good? Like, that is a massive, I don't feel like I have all the answers going into the season, but I've decided to back burner it because I can't figure it out until the regular season kicks in. I know the interior is great. I know what Juwan Taylor looks like when he plays well. I know what Donovan Smith looks like when he plays well, but I know what they both look like when they play bad, which would cause problems for the rest of this offensive line. So where they are as far as being cohesive as a unit, because they won the Super Bowl last year, not just because they had one of the league's best offensive line, they were returning all 5 players to an already very good offensive line. And everything I've ever been told about offensive line play is that it takes a long time to form a cohesive unit and a level of comfort where all the miscommunication, all this stuff is just buried and you're just good together. And Smith is a veteran, so I assume that. But I do still think a question for me is how they'll perform this year, specifically the tackles, not the rest of the offensive line. Not worried about the interior, but can the tackles hold up?
It is kind of weird, though, because I think with most people where it's like, I'm not worried about it. And I know that one at one point was going to be one of the biggest questions. Who's protecting Mahomes on the left side and right side? And, at one point was Jawan Taylor going to be the left tackle for this team? Maybe he still is for the future, but right now he's going to be the right tackle. And just based on what we've seen in preseason and at camp and knowing what Jawan Taylor was as a right tackle, knowing what you already have on the interior, and I'm convinced if Donovan Smith is healthy, then I do think you get Donovan Smith level of play that will be eventually equal, if not better at times than what you got from Orlando Brown Jr. Maybe not right out of the gate, but if he stays healthy. Where it gets dicey is if Donovan Smith is unhealthy, then it's problematic. We saw what he looked like when he wasn't healthy, and then you have serious questions about, all right, then what? Is it Wanye Morris? Is it somebody else? That's when it would get dicey.
Prince? Is it
and look, in fairness,
Bernard?
a lot of teams, if you lose your left tackle, it gets a little dicey. Most teams don't have starting caliber left tackles too deep on their roster. It's pretty rare. I don't know if that exists.
I'm not even sure. I'm not even sure we can find one team in which that existed. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think we'd find a single NFL team. But it's not, to me, it's not even the injury. I just want to make sure they work as a unit the way that I think they should. The question is kind of relative, Gold, because I don't think really under any circumstance, unless both the tackles go down, that they're going to be a not at least average offensive line. But I think they could be the best offensive line in football. And a lot of that is relying on whether or not those guys do it. I do have some question about like running back usage, which we can get to a little bit later, and some of these other things that I think kind of matter a little bit, but those still kind of remain it. Can they get pass rush is got to be
right.
I mean, that cycles back to the Chris Jones thing. Meanwhile, at wide receiver, we know we had some questions, but at least maybe things are heading in a good direction with Kadarius Toney. This is what James Palmer had to say on NFL Network yesterday.
I'm told, Andrew, there's some optimism that he's going to be able to go for the Kansas City Chiefs in this opener to start the regular season against the Detroit Lions. Now, remember, he partially tore that meniscus at the start of training camp and hasn't done anything since. Remember, at the start of this offseason, they made it very clear that he was their clear-cut #1 wide receiver heading into the 2023 season, but he has missed all of this time with that knee injury. Now, this week, I'm told, is going to be very important. They think he's doing great in terms of his recovery, but how he practices this week would be big. Now, if he's limited any capacity at the start of the regular season, the good thing is the Chiefs are very deep at the wide receiver spot. They think in year 2 of this system with MVS and Sky Moore, they both made a big jump in year 2. And also they believe Justin Ross has had a very good camp. Remember him shining early in his career at Clemson before some foot issues. They believe their medical staff have done a very good job with him, and they're expecting some big things from Justin Ross and obviously the rookie Rashee Rice as well.
This is the week to determine, makes sense for Kadarius Toney and whether or not he's viable for week 1 or not. Makes sense because you start game week prep later on this week because you're going to about to be a week out on Thursday from the opener against Detroit. So it makes sense that this is a big week for Toney, who we just have not seen anything of. I mean, he didn't even get really hurt in practice. It was pre-practice. He was catching a punt, I think is what it was. And ever since then, we know we went under the knife, and he's just been rehabbing behind the scenes. Nobody's really seen him since.
I guess because I hadn't heard anything, I wasn't optimistic. This would, to me, though, be big. So I don't want to rush him back. We've kind of established that, Gold. Neither of us want him forced back into action too soon because of the injury stuff and the concerns that would be why. He's way more important to you week 8, 9, 17 in the playoffs than he is week 1 or 2. But I also don't want them going into the opening game of the regular season with the possibility of no starting defensive lineman, your best pass rusher. No starting corner in L'Jarius Sneed, which is more than plausible at this point because that man hasn't practiced. And no starting #1 wide receiver. Missing 3 of your most important players for a single week is a lot. And if you're telling me there's a chance Toney could get back healthy, I think it's different. The interesting part is it just changes my complexion of the confidence in the wide receivers because there's just more numbers at it. You got 7 guys you like. All 7 guys you said you like, right? So if you go into this and Toney can stay healthy, then he still could have a big year for the Chiefs. I still think a big year for him, by the way, is like, 900 yards?
Oh, that would be,
That'd be a really big year for Toney. It'd be 400 yards more than he's had in any other season.
Yeah, I mean, we go back to the training camp injury. We were saying if he plays in 14+, I think he could be a 750 to 900-yard receiver. And right now, 17 games is still in play. We're about to find out if week 1 we're going to already have to start dipping into the slashing of 17 games or not. We're all on the same page, though. I think all 3 of us have acknowledged that and I'm sure the Chiefs are as well. If he is not 100% and he goes through some practices later this week and it looks like, he's maybe a week or so away, that's fine. There's no reason to push it whatsoever. And you heard from Palmer, and we've, I think, acknowledged this as well. They have depth. Maybe unproven depth. They have depth. You don't feel like going into week one, it's like, man, no Tony, they just don't have anybody to throw the ball to. Other guys are going to have to emerge, but they do have some depth there. Whether or not you buy into the MVS actually being more than what he's been or not, if it's not Tony, you go further down the line. I think we saw enough from a preseason perspective where if I told you suddenly there had to be an increase in snaps for Rashee Rice, even as a rookie, or increased snaps for Richie James for a week or two, or increased snaps for Justin Ross, heck, for that matter, who I still think will just be more of a red zone matchup nightmare because we saw that again in the preseason game. He's just, at his size, to be able to move the way he does in the red zone, good luck covering him. I think that's where he has the biggest impact this year, not necessarily, in a 70-yard drive that he's equating for 40 of the yards. I think it's more that, hey, the Chiefs march down the field, and it's first and goal from the 8, and they're able to get a nice matchup for Justin Ross.
This is just like, Tony just points out the whole thing that I know about the roster anyway, which is this is an incredibly fascinating year for the future of wide receiver for the Chiefs. Is Tony a guy you can count on, stays healthy, and puts up numbers? Do Rice more like there's just so many, who's going to be the guy? Is anyone going to be the guy? Are you going to still need draft picks thrown into this position here moving forward on the higher end? Are you going to need to look in the free agency pool on the higher end? Or can you kind of do it the way they're doing it now, which is have enough to let Smith-Marset walk, but then maybe not go from this other direction, then figure it out from there. So they're just kind of fascinating from a that perspective where we just don't know the answers on whether or not they have the roster flexibility to do it. And so, Tony kind of relates to that. Whether or not he can get on the practice field this week is going to make a difference on how we feel about all the wide receivers going forward, Gold, because it's a deep group, but it's a group that is largely unproven. One way or the other, they're just largely unproven. We've talked. I won't give the numbers anymore because I know you don't like it when I say MVS is a, I think I said not quite a 700-yard receiver. He was pretty much a 700-yard receiver.
Yeah, we got a special guest joining us. We're talking Chiefs football. I'll say this: someone that's never really had to worry about cutdown day in the NFL as much as, of course, Chiefs offensive lineman Trey Smith joining us in studio. What's going on, man? It's a kind of weird day, I'm sure, to be a teammate of some guys. It's a tough day around